She's smiling across the table, words dancing like fireflies in the summer air. But beneath that glow, a storm you can't see coming, one wrong guess and the night shatters. What if I told you that reading a woman's mind isn't magic? It's a forgotten art, forged in the fires of Jung's shadows, Nietzsche's raw will, and Freud's buried whispers. Tonight, we crack the code, not to conquer, but connect. Buckle up. This isn't pick-up lines, this is philosophy as your secret weapon. Imagine you're sitting there, across from her, at that dimly lit cafe, the steam from your coffee curling up like secrets unspoken. Her laugh rings out, bright, effortless. But then just for a split second, her gaze flickers to the window, to the rain-slick street outside, and something shifts. A shadow crosses her face, gone so fast you almost miss it. What was that? A fleeting doubt? Buried memory clawing its way up? Welcome to the first layer of the mind's labyrinth. Young shadow, that primal undercurrent where stashed the parts of ourselves we dare not face. Carl Jung, that Swiss sage who peered into the collective unconscious like a man plumbing the depths of an ancient well, taught us that every soul carries this shadow, not as a monster to slay, but as a mirror, reflecting the wild and tamed echoes we all share. And in her, oh, it's alive, pulsing beneath the polished surface of small talk and shared glances. Think about it. Women, just like us, aren't monolithic statues of grace. Their tapestry is woven from archetypes, those eternal patterns Jung mapped out like blueprints of the human psyche handed down from gods and myths. The warrior archetype might show up in her as that fierce independence, the way she holds her chin high during a heated debate. But flip it over and there's the shadow side. A fear of true vulnerability, a terror that yielding means defeat. Or the mother, that nurturing glow when she talks about her dreams for the future, but shadowed by a rage at the world's endless demands, the quiet fury of being pulled in 1,000 directions without a moment's peace. These aren't random quirks, they're projections, Jung said, fragments of her inner world spilling out onto you, the unwitting screen. And here's the genius twist for reading her instantly. To code it instantly, you don't pry like some amateur detective. No, you turn the mirror inward first. What shadows of your own are you seeing dance in her eyes? That irritation when she dodges your question about her day? It might not be her evasion. It could be your own animal stirring, that feminine essence in your male psyche, or vice versa, demanding you acknowledge the softness you armored against. Really painted real for you. Modern messy, the kind of thing we all stumble into. You're on a third date, scrolling through her phone pics together, laughing at that goofy vacation shot. But she lingers on one. Her, an old flame, silhouetted against a sunset beach. Her smile tightens, just a hair, and she swipes away too quick, surface with hangover. But dive into the shadow. That's the lover archetype shadowed by betrayal's ghost, the part of her that once trusted wildly and got burned, not projecting caution onto every new spark. Jung would not knowingly. It's the collective wound, echoing Eve's exile or Persephone's descent. You feel it in your gut too, don't you? That twinge of your lost innocence mirroring back. So how do you read it instantly, without the awkward probe that kills the vibe? Listen to the silence, brother. The pause after her laugh isn't empty. It's loaded, a vessel for the unspoken archetype begging to be named. Lean in, not with words at first, but with your presence. Let your eyes say, I see the warrior in you and the wound she guards. Then, when the moment ripens, drop it soft, that photo. It holds a story, doesn't it? One that shaped you more than you'd admit. Watch her. And does she lean closer, eyes widening like dawn breaking? That's the shadow cracking open, inviting you in. Or does she deflect with a joke, shoulders tensing? There is the echo of the orphan archetype, abandoned once too often now, armored in wit. But don't stop at recognition. That's where most fumble, mistaking insight for conquest. Jung warned us, the shadow isn't to be conquered, it's to be integrated, danced with, like a partner in a tango of the soul. In her mind, those hidden echoes aren't barriers. They're bridges to the raw electric core of who she is. Picture a therapy session I once overheard in a Jungian circle. Faceless, of course, but vivid as yesterday. A woman, mid-30s, executive sharp as a blade, confessing how her perfect marriage crumbled not from fights, but from the unspoken shadow. Her inner child, starved for play amid boardroom battles, projecting neglect onto her husband until resentment festered like an untreated wound. The analyst didn't lecture, he mirrored it back. And in that little girl's eyes, what adventure calls to her now? Tears, then laughter, connection reborn, related to her life. That co-worker who snaps at deadlines, her voice edged like shattered glass. Not personal. It's the shadow of the heroine, overburdened by impossible quests, echoing every woman who's ever shouldered the world's shoulds. Read it by reflecting your own heroic fatigue back at her. Man, these hours grind, don't they? What's the wild escape your inner rebel dreams up? Instant breach. Her guard drops, stories spill, and suddenly you're not strangers. You're co-conspirators in the psyche's grand theatre. Deeper still, because Jung's archetypes aren't solitary. They commune, collide, create symphonies or storms in the span of a heart. Consider the interplay. Her persona, that social mask of confidence and charm, polished for the world's gaze but shadowed by the trickster, the sly doubt that whispers, they're all faking it too, why not you? You spot it in the micro-movements, the way her fingers twist her necklace when compliments land, not basking but bracing. Instant read. Trace the archetype's thread back to myth. Think Athena born armored from Zeus's head, forever strategizing against chaos. In today's swipe right arena, it's the woman ghosting after a promising chat, her shadow trickster fearing the fool's fall. Your move. Embody the wise old man archetype yourself. Steady, non-judgmental. Hey, that spark we had. It felt real to me. What's the trickster in your head saying otherwise? No pressure, just invitation. And boom, her mind unfolds layer by shadowy layer, revealing not defenses, but depths yearning for light. Now, layer in the relational alchemy, reading her shadow isn't a solo act, it's a duet, where your own projections meet hers in a cosmic handshake. Jung called this the participation mystique, that primal entanglement where her unlived dreams awaken yours. Ever had a crush that hit like lightning only to fizzle into projection fuel? That's the anima and animus at war. Her masculine drive shadowed by your unmet need for strength or vice versa. Instant decode. When she challenges your opinion with that fiery glint, don't defend, discern. Is it her Amazon archetype rising, shadowed by past dismissals, mirroring your own silenced voice? Respond with, damn, that fire in you, it's got me rethinking my whole stance. What's the battle it's fighting for? The air thickens with possibility. Her thoughts, once veiled, now vivid as a shared dream. And in that exchange, you're not just reading her mind, you're co-authoring it, turning echoes into anthems. This mirror work, this shadow dance is the gateway, pulling us inexorably toward the fiercer flames that lie ahead, where will and instinct await their turn on the stage. And there it is, that shadow once glimpsed, doesn't just fade into the background. It ignites something primal, a spark that demands fuel. You've seen it now, in the flicker of her eyes, the weight behind her words, those buried echoes calling out for more than mere acknowledgement. But what if I told you that beneath that shadowy veil lies not just hidden wounds, but a roaring inferno of ambition and defiance? Enter Friedrich Nietzsche, the thunderous philosopher who didn't whisper platitudes, but hurl lightning bolts at the complacency of the human spirit. His will to power, that ferocious life-affirming drive, is it about crushing others underfoot? No, it's the soul's savage urge to overcome, to sculpt chaos into creation, to stare into the abyss and build a bridge across it. In her mind, it's the undercurrent that turns a casual conversation into a battlefield of unspoken yearnings, where every hesitation hides a hunger for greatness and every smile masks the warrior queen itching to claim her throne. Picture Nietzsche pacing his mountain retreat, scribbling furiously against the alpine winds, declaring that all life is a will to power, not domination for its own sake, but the eternal yes to existence, the refusal to let mediocrity chain you down. For women steeped in a world that often clips their wings with invisible threads of expectation, be soft, be accommodating, be the good girl, this will manifest as a quiet revolution. You sense it instantly in the way she navigates the room. Does her posture straighten when you mention a bold dream, her eyes igniting like embers? That's the Übermensch stirring Nietzsche's ideal of the self-overcoming soul, projecting onto the world a challenge. See me not as I am boxed, but as the force I could unleash. or watch her falter at a compliment laced with pity. You're so strong for handling that alone, and there's the recoil, a subtle flinch, because her will isn't seeking pity's pat. It's craving the friction of true equals, the spark that says, rise with me or step aside. Let's make it hit home, raw and relatable, like that late night text exchange that's got your heart pounding. She's venting about her dead-end job, words tumbling out in a rush. It's fine, really, it just pays the bill. But listen closer, the subtext screams Nietzsche, that fine is the fortress walling off her will's fury at being leashed, her inner Zarathustra howling against the herd's sleepy routines. Surface level, not sympathetically offer but to read her mind in electric instant, trace the battle lines of her yeses and nos like a general scouting enemy terrain. Does she light up recounting that one wild weekend road trip, voice dropping to a conspiratorial hush? Yes, that's her will leaning into adventure, recoiling from the gnaw of scripted safety. Nietzsche nailed it in Thus Spoke Zarathustra. The noble soul creates values anew, doesn't kneel to old ones. So, probe with a question that fans the blaze. If this job vanished tomorrow, what empire would you build in its ashes? What's the one conquest that's kept you up at night? Feel the shift? Her breath catches, words accelerate, and suddenly barriers dissolve. You're not interrogating, you're igniting. It's that raw hunger peeking through her psyche, whispering, finally, someone who sees the fire, not the smoke. But it's not always flames leaping high. Sometimes the will to overcome simmers low, disguised as doubt or deflection, a Nietzschean tightrope walk over the void of self-betrayal. Think of the friend who's always the bridesmaid, never the storm, pouring her creativity into others' weddings, her own canvas blank. You catch it in her offhand quip. Weddings are magic, aren't they? Mine'll happen someday, but pause, a chasm, huh? Her will isn't dormant. It's wrestling the slave morality Nietzsche despised, the insidious voice of resentment born from years of someday promises that erode the spirit like acid rain. Instant bread. Her body language betrays it. The crossed arms not defensive, but a coiled spring. The laugh that's half-hearted, echoing hollow. Draw from beyond good and evil, where he urges us to affirm the body's instincts over the mind's timid lies. Mirror it back without flinching. Someday sounds like a cage with a pretty lock. What if we picked it right now? What wild yes would you shout to the stars? Watch the transformation. Tension uncoils, her gaze sharpens, and in that vulnerability, her mind lays bare. Not complaints, but blueprints of battles won in secret. Dreams deferred but never defeated. Deeper into the dance, because this will isn't static. It's a verb that pulses through her interactions like blood through veins, demanding you attune or get burned. In the heat of flirtation, say, when banter turns from playful jabs to probing depths, does she parry with wit that cuts too close or pull back into safe small? That's the will testing. Leaning in for the challenge means she's alive to the power exchange. Nietzsche's master morality, where strength meets strength in joyful strife. Shrinking is the terror of overreaching, the ghost of past faults haunting her ascent. Related to the gym rat girlfriend who crushes deadlifts but dodges your invite to that poetry slam. Nah, crowds aren't my thing, not disinterest. How will recoils from the mundane's chains, yearning for arenas where she can lift not just weights, but worlds, your philosophical hair. Embody the overman yourself, unfazed inviting. What if that crowd was your stage, not their cirque? What poem would you hurl like a thunderbolt? The air crackles, her response isn't measured. It's a torrent revealing the cartography of her conquests. The promotion she sabotaged out of fear. The lover she outgrew but couldn't release all threads in the tapestry of her becoming. And layer in the psychologist's grit. Pair Nietzsche's thunder with the undercurrents of modern minds. How evolutionary whispers amplify. This will women, navigating a world still tilted on axis of power. She's not just overcoming external dragons, she's slaying the inner ones that whisper not enough. Those residues of Freud's superego we touched in shadows, now weaponized by cultural script. Spot it in the micro. Her fingers drumming the table during a story of triumph, not impatience, but restless drive to push further Nietzsche's amor fati, all of faith as fuel for forging ahead. Ever dated the artist who burns through canvases at 3 a.m., then second guesses every stroke by dawn. Huh? That's the will in eternal recurrence testing. Would you paint this masterpiece again, flaws and all? Read it by leaning into the rhythm. Match your energy, not with flattery, but with a gauntlet. That piece you trashed last week. Bet it'd slay if you owned its chaos. What's the fate you'd affirm in it? Her laugh turns genuine, defenses melt, and their mind read not as a locked diary, but as a living manifesto, her thoughts unfurling like battle flags in the wind. This sensing isn't passive. It's active communion, where you become the bellows to her forge. Nietzsche urging us to become who you are by witnessing the same in us. Imagine the boardroom bombshell, pitching ideas that could reshape industries, but her voice wavers on the big ask. Eyes darting to the room, silent judges. That's the will clashing with the hurt's gaze, her inner diadesis, wild, creative force, chained by Apollo's rigid order. You, in the audience or bed or bar, catch the tremor, instant insight. It's not nerves, it's the abyss staring back, demanding she leap, channel the gay science, joy and destruction of the old self. Afterward, over drinks, that pitch. It wasn't just numbers, it was you declaring war on the ordinary. What's the next frontier calling your name? The floodgates opened, stories of childhood rebellion, suppressed novels, lovers who dimmed her light, and suddenly you're privy to the Inferno's map, her psyche's power grid laid bare, humming with potential. Yet, beware the inversion. Sometimes her will overcompensate, roaring loud to drown the quiet terror of stillness. The serial data who collects hearts like trophies, each story a conquest tale laced with, and then he couldn't keep up. Nietzsche would smirk. That's the sentiment in reverse. The weak master strong, but her eyes, they betray the cause, a flicker of exhaustion amid the glory. Read it in the overkill, the endless emojis in text, the plan stacked triple high. It's the will to power starved of true opposition, craving a mirror that withstands the heat. Your response? Meet fire with fire tempered. All these adventures sound epic, but what's the one summit that'd make the rest fade? The yes that echoes forever, pause. Her mask slips, vulnerability rushes in, and with it the unvarnished truth, fears of solitude, dreams of legacy, the raw machinery of her overcoming. In that exchange, you're not decoding a cipher. You're fueling the forge, her mind's flames leaping higher, drawing us ever closer to the subterranean rivers where instincts run unchecked, waiting to merge with his blaze. Now, with that Nietzschean fire crackling alive in her every glance, threatening to consume the careful facade we both wear, it's time to descend further, past the flames, into the steaming underbelly where the real heat brews unchecked. You felt it, haven't you? That pull beneath her words, the way a casual story veers into territory laced with something forbidden, a hunger that polite society pretends doesn't exist. This is Sigmund Freud's domain, the grand old Viennese provocateur who didn't just map the mind, he dynamited it open, revealing the ideas of that roiling cauldron of raw instincts, the seething river of desires we dam up with layers of shoulds and strange smiles. In her psyche, it's not a tidy stream, it's a torrent of repressed rivers, colliding and carving secret channels, bursting through in Freudian slips that betray the wild abandon she's caged since girlhood. To read her instantly, tune your ear to the echo, the unspoken name on her lips, the dream she waves off with a laugh as one beat too sharp. That's the ego, parched and pounding against its bars, begging for the floodgates to crack. Freud, chain-smoking in his leather chair, scribbling dreams like hieroglyphs from the underworld, insisted the unconscious isn't a vault of forgotten trivia, it's a pressure cooker of primal drives, sex, aggression, the infantile echoes that shape us before we even know our own names. For women, navigating a tapestry of taboos that whisper desire less, contain more, this idea manifests as a sly saboteur, bubbling up in the offhand remark during pillow talk. I need a vacation from all this responsibility. When what she really means is a scream for the untethered ecstasy of bodies and nights without clocks. You catch it in the micro-leak, her fingers tracing the rim of her glass as she recounts a harmless office flirtation, voice dipping low, eyes avoiding yours. But plunge Freudian deep. That's the libido's tributary breaking free, the repressed wish for conquest mirroring the Oedipal tangle of her earliest bonds. The daddy who praised too fiercely or withheld too coldly, now projected onto every man who stirs the pot. Instant read. Don't chase the story. Chase the avoidance. What detail does she gloss over? The one that makes her shift in her seat. That's the river's bend, heavy with the weight of what she won't name. Let's ground it in the grit of now. The swipe and scroll chaos we all drown in. You're deep into a Tinder thread. Her profile pics screaming adventure. Hiking boots, windswept hair. But her messages, polished reflections. Works crazy, but yeah, love the outdoors. Another back, a photo dump of brooding artist in dimly lit loss. Captioned, inspiration strikes at midnight. Freud would arch an eyebrow. Oedipal pool, pure and potent, the unconscious current dragging her toward the unresolved paternal shadow. The man who promises chaos and creation over the safe harbor of nice guys. It's not betrayal of her conscious self. It's the Ice Age ancient right echoing Electra's vengeance of the forbidden fruit's bite. You sense it instantly in the rhythm. Her response is quickened at your AGA prompts, slow to a crawl on the mundane. Mirror it without the scalpel's cold edge. Those midnight muses sound like they've got stories that'd make Dawn jealous. What's the one that haunts your sketches? Feel the current shift? Her words loosen, tumbling into confessions. The ex who mirrored her father's volatility. The thrill of creation that feels like sin, and suddenly her mind's map unfurls, not as a puzzle, but as a living vein, pulsing with a... But Freud's genius wasn't in naming the beast. It was in tracing how repression doesn't silence the idea. It amplifies it, turning whispers into tidal waves that crash in dreams, jokes, even the body itself. Ever notice how she crosses her legs tighter when the conversation turns intimate? Or how her laugh turns throaty, recounting a silly childhood prank that involved sneaking out hard. That's the somatic slip, the unconscious telegraphing through flesh, what the tongue denies. The superego's iron fist clenching against the itis velvet. In modern terms, it's the woman at the bar, nursing a drink after a breakup, quipping about swearing off men forever, while her gaze lingers on your tattooed forearms. The joke's the damn, the lingers the... Freud, in the interpretation of dreams, called these conversations symbols packing a punch of displaced desire. Like the cage she jokes about escaping, really a metaphor for the marital monotony or career trap that starved her sensual self. To decode on the fly, listen for the echo chamber, what drips in her anecdotes, the motif she can't shake, the bad boy who ruined everything. That's the transference, her ID projecting infantile rages onto you, testing if you'll be the authority figure who liberates or locks. Reflect it soft, inviting. That cage story hits different. Sounds like the wild bird inside's been flapping for air way too long. What's its first flight look like? No judgment, just a key in the lock. Watch her exhale. The river rushing freer, carrying fragments of the forbidden. Fantasy shelves since teens, guilt from good girl upbringings, the raw, unfiltered hungers that make her glorious. Play and the interplay, because these currents don't flow solo. They eat with the shadows and wills we've already glimpsed. Freud's topography meeting Jung's depths in a subterranean symphony. A Nietzschean fire might roar for power, but dip below, and it's the ID fueling the blaze with libidinal gasoline, the aggressive thrust masters ambition, the erotic undercurrent in her boardroom battles. Spot it in the woman who dominates happy hour debates, voice rising like a whip, but then mid-rant, a flush creeps up her neck as your eyes lock. That's the fusion. Will to overcome laced with unconscious seduction, the phallic symbols Freud loved. Alone. That towering career goal, veiling a deeper quest for union, for the lost object of infantile bliss. Relatable rush. Your college fling who aced exams by day, then unraveled in feverish all-nighters of poetry and passion. Her study breaks, confessions spilling like contraband. Instant insight. The avoidance of rest wasn't discipline. It was the ide's rebellion against the ego's schedules, repressed energies erupting in creative order. Your philosophical ear catches the tell. The dream she shares offhand. Weird, I keep falling off cliffs. Freud's classic anxiety signal. The superego punishing forbidden falls into freedom. Probe with empathy's hook, cliffs, huh? Feels like the edge of something massive. What's the rush down there that's called? The dam quivers, the narrative cracks open. Admissions of suppressed artistry. The thrill of near, misses in love. The psychic rivers carving canyons of what-ifs. And you're swimming in it. Her unconscious laid bare like a submerged city rising to life. Deeper still, into the relational riptides, where her repressed rivers don't just reveal her. They ensnare you, Freud's countertransference turning the reed into a mutual unraveling. You're not the neutral analyst. You're in the current, your own ideas stirring at her slips, projecting your daddy issues onto her maternal warmth or vice versa. Ever had a date where her casual touch on your arm sends your pulse racing while she chatters about nothing serious? That's the dance. Her AD leaking availability through the body, your unconscious lapping it up like forbidden wine. Freud warned in Civilization and its discontent society builds dikes against these floods. But they spring eternal leaks. The platonic friend who texts at 2 a.m. with a random thought that's anything but. Read the current by sinking your flow. Match her energy's undertow, not the surface skim. When she brushes off that vivid nightmare, just stress whatever. Don't dismiss. Discern the symbol. House is flooding. Repressed emotions swamping the ego's tidy home. Echo it back. Floods in dreams always feel like the stuff we bottle up. What wave from your day hit hard? Vulnerability cascades. Stories of familial silences. The erotic charge in unclaimed anger. The AIDS lexicon of symbols spilling forth. And in that shared submersion, her mind isn't a locked vault. It's an open estuary. Tides ebbing and flowing with truths too potent for daylight. Yet the beauty and the terror of Freud's river is its relentlessness. Repression doesn't dry it up. It redirects, carving slight detours through symptoms that scream for attention. The perfectionist who binges true crime podcasts, dissecting motives with forensically, not idle curiosity. It's the idea's voyeuristic vein channeling aggressive impulses into safe spectatorship. The murderous blade, a stand-in for her own unslashed ties. You glimpse it instantly in the fervor, her eyes glazing with that telltale intensity, voice quickening on the killer's psyche. Modern Freudian hack. Pair it with the dazed detritus. What harmless annoyance sparked the binge. The boss's slide, mirroring a father's dismissal. Transference alert. Invite without intrusion. Hook you deep. What's the motive in them that builds your own unsolved case? The river surges, confessions of bottled furies, the thrill imagined revenge, the unconscious cartwheel of desires dressed as analysis, and suddenly you're navigating her depths, not as a tourist, but as a fellow diver, her repressed rushes becoming shared current. This plunge from fire to flood etches the forbidden map ever clearer, beckoning us toward the armored shores where stoic resolve stands sentinel against the storm. Those Freudian rivers, once unleashed in their turbulent rush, don't just dissipate into calm pools. They crash against something unyielding, a bulwark forged in the fires of ancient Rome, where emperors and slaves alike stared down fate's fury without flinching. You've glimpsed the chaos now, the idea's wild undercurrents swirling with shadows and wills, threatening to drown the moment in unspoken tempests. But here's the pivot, the quiet revolution that turns flood to fortress. Enter stoicism, that ironclad philosophy of Epictetus, the former slave, and Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, who taught not suppression but sovereignty over the soul's storms. In her mind, this manifests as the Stoic veil, a masterful shroud of indifference woven from threads of disciplined calm that cloaks the roiling depths we've just plumbed, fooling the hasty eye into mistaking poise for peace. Women often schooled in the art of endurance by a world that demands they weather emotional gales without a ripple. Don this armor like second skin? The tight-lipped smile after a heartbreak, the steady voice amid career crucibles, I'm good that echoes hollow to the adjure. To pierce it instantly, you don't hammer at the walls. You embody the stoic gaze, detaching from your own ego's frantic flailings, peering through the dichotomy of control to discern what's hers to command and what's the phantom frenzy of externals. Epictetus, chained once in body but free in spirit, thundered from his lectures in the Enchiridion that it's not events that disturb us, but our judgments of them. A razor-sharp truth that slices through her veiled turmoil like dawn through fall. Picture her, after that blistering argument, the one where Freud's rivers of resentment finally breached the banks, words flying like shrapnel from both sides. She retreats to the kitchen, pours a glass of water with mechanical precision, turns back with that trademark half-smile. It's fine, really water under the bridge. Fine? That's the veil at its thickest. Epictetus practiced indifference, not as cold dismissal. but as a shield hammered from necessity, guarding the vulnerability that society mocks as weakness. Her currents, those edible edges and each blazes, still churn beneath, but she's dancing the dichotomy. What she controls, her response, her inner citadel. What she doesn't, your words, the world's whims. The untrained rush in with apologies or accusations, cracking the armor with clumsy force and widening the chasm. But you adopt the emperor's poise from Marcus Aurelius' meditation, scribbled by lamplight amid plagues and betrayals. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Read her instantly by marrying that sovereignty. Pause, breathe into your own detachment, then ask not, what did I do wrong? But in this moment, what's the weight you're choosing to carry, and what's the one we might set down together? Feel the shift. Her shoulders ease a fraction. The veil thins like mist burned off, revealing not indifference, but the raw ache of a soul schooled in silence. Make it visceral, the kind of scene that lingers like smoke after a fire. You're at a crowded house party. Bass thumping through the walls, her laughter cutting through the din as she holds court with strangers, anecdotes flowing like wine. But you catch the tell. Midway through a tale of her latest promotion, her fingers grip the stem of her glass a touch too tight, eyes scanning the room not with boredom but with that stoic vigilance the emperor surveying barbarians at the gates. Marcus would recognize it, the external clamor of accolades and envy judged in different illusions, while internally the rivers rage, doubts of imposter syndrome, the ideas whisper, not enough clashing with her will's triumphant roar. This veil isn't vanity, it's survival. Epictetus' legacy to the marginalized, teaching that true freedom lies in what no chain can touch. Instant peace. Step into the arena with empathetic armor, your own stoic frame unyielding, yet open as a Roman forum. Sidle up, voice low, amid the roar. That story you just spun, it lands like you've conquered empires, but I sense the quiet battle behind the crown. What's one foe from today you'd banish with a single decree? No probing scalpel, just presence armored in understanding. Watch the alchemy, her gaze locks, the party's haze fades, and the veil parts, stories spill of boardroom betrayals that echo childhood dismissals. The disciplined calm that masks nights of journaling furies, her psyche's inner senate debating every decree. You're not preaching, you're being invited through the gates, her mind unfolding as a scroll of resilient edict. Deeper into the weave, 'cause this stoic veil isn't monolithic. It's a living tapestry, threaded with the philosophies we've layered before, where Jung's shadows find stoic containment. Nietzsche's fire tempers to enduring embers, and Freud's floods are channeled into aqueducts of will. Consider the high achiever, the one who juggles motherhood, side hustles, and midnight marathons, her calendar a fortress of efficiency. You spot the veil in the micro, that no big deal shrug when you ask about her exhaustion, eyes bright but edged with the emperor's weary wisdom. Epictetus would applaud the dichotomy in action, externals like fatigue dismissed as judgments, not truths yet beneath the current's pool. Repressed guilt of failing at softness, her will tower for unscripted. Relatable grit, your sister, post-divorce, who rebuilds her life brick by unyielding brick, whipping pains just days her over family dinners, but her knuckles whiten on the fork. That's the veil's double edge, empowering yet isolating. Marcus Aurelius confessing in his private meditations the loneliness of unshared burdens. To read and lift it on the wing of a moment. Embodied the Stoic interlocutor, detached yet attuned. Data or not, that load looks forged in the God's own fire. What's the one judgment you'd rewrite tonight if the cosmos allowed? The air stills, her armor yields, not to force, but to fellowship. Admissions pour of the inner dialogues that sustain her, the premeditatio malorum where she rehearses heartbreaks to blunt their sting, the veiled triumphs of choosing virtue over vengeance. In that breach, her thoughts aren't armored secrets. The dispatches from the front lines, her soul's unbowed chronicle laid bare. Lay in a relational forge where piercing her veil demands you forge your own. Stoicism not a solitary monkhood, but a shared citadel. Epictetus urging us to bear and forbear in the arena of others. Ever locked eyes with her across a tense family gathering, words unspoken but thunderous. Her face a mask of polite engagement while Freud's undercurrents simmer in sidelong glances. That's the veil of communal work, The emperor's cosmopolitan duty to endure fools with grace, judging their barbs as externals beyond the pale. But you sense the strain, the subtle clench of her jaw, the way her everything's lovely lands like rehearsed verse. Marcus, journaling amid court intrigues, knew this dance. Men exist for the sake of one another. Teach or bear with them. Instant insight. Sink your dichotomy. Release your judgment of the chaos. Step close with armored calm. This table's a battlefield of its own. What's the one impression you'd etch in stone tonight, unswayed by the fray? No rescue mission, just resonant echo. The veil shimmers, thins, her whisper cuts through. Runs on inherited dysfunctions that mirror her own repressed rifts, the stoic practices that anchor her amid relational reefs, like voluntary discomforts to still the spirit. Suddenly, the gathering's din recedes. Your co-emperors in a private republic, her mind's veiled vaults cracking open to reveal not just endurance, but the exquisite art of it, the premeditated virtues, the amar fati that turns stones to crowns. Yet, the veil's subtlety lies in its adaptability, a chameleon's skin that shifts with context, epictetus teachings applied not in isolation, but in the gritty theater of daily duels. The colleague who navigates layoffs with unflappable resolve, emailing updates crisp as parchment, but you catch the veiled seam, a hesitation in her step past the break room, where chatter turns to losses. That stoic indifference veiling the eye's grief-stricken wail, the shadow's orphan cry amid professional purges. Marcus Aurelius, facing his own empire's hemorrhages, inscribed, "What need is there to weep over parts of life? The whole of it calls for tears." But she channels it into action, the veiled tool for transcendence. Modern maneuver, post-meeting, over coffee that steams like unspoken sighs. Your poison there was imperial. What's the external you released today, and the internal spark it free? Her guard eases. The deluge begins. Not tears, but truth. Confessions of premeditated resilience, like morning visualizations of worse days. One, the dichotomy wielded as a blade against anxiety's fog, her psyche's stoic ledger balancing losses with liberated longing. You're navigating now, not storm-tossed, but alongside a navigator supreme. Her veiled depths proving not barriers, but bastions begging for worthy allies. And weave in the psychological sinew, stoicism's ancient bones fleshed out in today's cognitive armors, where Epictetus prefigures modern therapies like CBT, reframing judgments to pierce emotional veils without shattering them. The friend ghosting group chats after a relational implosion. Her social feeds a curated calm of sunsets and quotes, but the veil slips in the rare reply. A curt, clipped, busy week. Beneath, Nietzsche's will recoiling. Freud's rivers dammed to prevent flood, all armored in Marcus' dictum. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Instant read in the digital ether, don't flood with concern, respond with stoic solidarity. Sunsets like that scream sovereignty. What judgment flipped the script on your chaos this week? The ellipsis lingers, then erupts, a voice note, roar and rambling, layers of premeditated distance to heal, the voluntary discomforts of solo hikes that rebuild the inner empire, the veiled victories of presence over projection. Her mind, once a distant citadel, becomes a council chamber, inviting your voice to the debate. Stoic weave, binding not just her solitude, but your shared sovereignty. His armored empathy, his veil-piercing poise, fortifies the bridge from inner maelstrom to the alchemical dawn, where souls fuse in philosophical. From the Stoic veil's quiet strength, where storms are tamed into disciplined dissolve, we now step into the crucible, where all these forces, shadows, wills, currents, and armors, collide not to shatter, but to transmute into something luminous, eternal, almost divine. This is the alchemical union, where Carl Jung's quest for individuation, the forging of a whole self from fragmented parts, meets Friedrich's audacious call to embrace the eternal return, that radical acceptance of life's every moment as if you'd live it again and again and again. In her mind, reading it instantly isn't about cracking a code or outsmarting her defenses. It's about stepping into a sacred dance where her projections, her buried hungers, her stoic facades become not obstacles, but invitations to co-create a moment of raw, transcendent intimacy. This isn't manipulation. is the philosopher's art of seeing her as a cosmos, not a checklist. Her thoughts unfolding like stars in a shared sky. You're not just peering into her psyche. You're integrating your own, forging a union that echoes Jung's mystic marriage of opposites and Nietzsche's defiant yes to existence, turning fleeting glances into a lifelong rhythm of mutual becoming. Jung, pacing his lakeside tower, scribbling visions that bridged Freud's earthbound drives with the mythic pulse of the collective unconscious, saw individuation as the soul's pilgrimage, embracing every shadow, every archetype, until the self emerges whole, not perfect, but unified. For her, this process is a living current. Every word, every pause is a step toward or away from that wholeness, her psyche projecting its unfinished mosaic onto you, the lover, friend, or stranger who dares to reflect it back. Nietzsche, meanwhile, wild-eyed in the Alps, hurled his eternal return like a gauntlet. Live each moment as if you choose it forever, flaws and all. In her mind, these philosophies converge as a silent question. Can you see her striving for wholeness, her will to affirm life's chaos without flinching? Instant reading comes not from dissecting her like a specimen, but from holding her projections, her fears, her fires, her veiled strengths, her sacred mirrors to your own. Picture her across from you at a late-night diner, neon buzzing, her voice sharp as she recounts a fight with her best friend. Or she doesn't get it, never will surface. But Jung's lens reveals the anima's cry, her inner feminine wounded by betrayal, projecting onto you the archetype of the savior or betrayer. Nietzsche's lens has the fire. Is she affirming this rift as her truth or recoiling from its eternal weight? Your move is alchemical, neither judgment nor fix, but a question that fuses both. That fight sounds like it cut deep. What part of you is rising from it, ready to claim its own for it? Her eyes soften, the veil lifts, and suddenly her mind's mosaic spills forth stories of loyalty's cost, dreams of a self unbound, the eternal. Yes, she's craving to speak. Grounded in the now, the messy pulse of modern connection, she's the co-worker who slays deadlines but freezes when you ask about her weekend plans, her smile tight, deflecting. Oh, just chilling, you know. Jung whispers his projection, the shadow of the orphan, abandoned by past promises, wary of new ones, casting you as the potential abandoner. Nietzsche demands you see her will to overcome, to affirm solitude as a chosen eternity, not a sentence. The alchemy? Don't chase the chill. Meet it with integrated presence, your own shadows owned, your will unafraid. Lean in, voice low. The chilling's a vibe, but I bet there's a wilder story in you. What's the one moment this week you'd live again, no edits? The air shifts, her guard cracks, not from pressure, but from recognition. Her words tumble, plans shelve for fear of judgment, the spark of a solo adventure she hasn't dared name. And in that instant, you're not reading a mind. You're co-sculpting it, her individuation sparking against your own Nietzsche's eternal return, a shared vow to affirm the moment's raw truth. It's not a trick. It's a transmutation, her psyche's fragments glinting like gold in the crucible of your attention. Dive deeper because this union isn't static. It's a dynamic fusion, where Jung's archetypes and Nietzsche's defiance weave into a relational alchemy that burns away pretense. Think of the date where she's radiant, laughing over wine, but her stories circle back to rebellion, quitting a soul-sucking job, defying family expectations. Jung's individuation sees her integrating the rebel archetype, the shadow of compliance cast off like old skin. Nietzsche's eternal return asks if she choose those ruptures forever, scars and all. The instant read lies in the interplay. Her laughter spikes when you nod at her courage, but her fingers fidget when you probe deeper. What's next for that rebel in you? That's the tension of becoming, the psyche wrestling to unify its opposites. Freedom versus safety, defiance versus doubt. Relatable hit, your friend who ghosted after a breakup, resurfacing with tales of a spontaneous trip abroad. Eyes alight but voice catching, oh I'm fine. The alchemy isn't in fixing her. It's in reflecting her striving self. Jung's conjunctive oppositorum, the mystic union of opposites, meeting Nietzsche's call to embrace the eternal now. Ask, that trip sounds like a rebirth. What moment out there felt like you'd live it 1,000 times over? Her response isn't guarded. It's a flood. Confessions of fear turned to fire, the self she met under foreign stars, the eternal yes to her own chaos. You're not decoding. You're catalyzing her mind's mosaic lining in the mirror of your integrated layer in the psychological grid, because this alchemy isn't just poetic. It's visceral, rooted in the psyche's mechanics, where Jung's collective unconscious meets Nietzsche's existential hammer in the forge of everyday encounters. She's the artist at the gallery opening, her work bold but a small talk clipped, eyes scanning for approval she'd never admit craving. Jung's lens spots the animus projection, the mother archetype seeking nurture and stranger's praise shadowed by the critic's fear of rejection. Nietzsche's lens demands, is she affirming her art as eternal or shrinking from its weight? The instant read lies in the somatic tells, her shoulders square when you linger on her canvas, but her breath hitches when you ask what drove this one. That's the alchemical edge, where her striving for wholeness battles the terror of exposure. Modern twist, think of the Instagram poetess. Her verse is raw, but her DM evasive. Just words, no big deal. Bullshit. Those words are her individuation. Each line a step toward integrating her shadow's pain into light. Nietzsche's eternal return in every pose she choose again, your alchemical move. Reflect without clinging. Those lines hit like they've lived at lifetimes. What's the one truth in them you ditch into it? The veil of nonchalance dissolves. Her thoughts pour out, fears of being too much. The joy of crafting a self that sings, the union of her fractured parts in the act of creation. You're not prying. You're the crucible, her psyche's gold, refining in the heat of shared truth. And the relational alchemy deepens because this union isn't one-sided. Your own individuation, your own eternal yes, is forged in the exchange, Jung's participation mystique, binding you in a mutual becoming. Ever had that late-night talk where her vulnerability cracks you open too? She's recounting a childhood memory, say, sneaking out to stargaze, defying curfews, and her voice trembles, not from sadness, but from the weight of reclaiming that rebel. Yet, the alchemical union's power lies in its relentless dynamism. Every projection she casts, every will she affirms, is a brushstroke in a canvas that never finishes. So there it is, the philosophical skeleton key to her mind, not for games, but for the raw, electric truth of being seen. Shadows to union, we've journeyed the depths. Now go forth. Listen like a philosopher, love like a rebel. What mind will you unlock first? Drop it in the comments. Subscribe for more keys to the human enigma, because in understanding her, you awaken yourself. Until next time, stay curious.